very troubling story captured in two newspapers. The Daily Graphic led with it today, and there was also another paper that had details of that.
Yeah.
And I like you guys to read the story again, because for me, I think as Richard said, it reveals about 5 different fault lines in society. Husband burns wife and 5 children. Suspected wife of infidelity.
Yeah.
What are the details?
So Shelley Asiedu Ado wrote from Cape Coast on the front page of Daily Graphic that an abusive marriage ended on a painful note last Saturday as the mother, her 5 children and a grandchild were burnt to death in suspected arson. At the center of it is the woman's husband and the children's father, Yao Efriye, who abused his family at will, spent time in jail for inflicting wounds on 2 of his children and yet showed no signs of slowing down. Efriye was found hanging from a tree in a suspected case of suicide that has shocked the central region. The horrifying fire incident, suspected to have been deliberately set up by the estranged husband, claimed the lives of his wife, their 5 children, and a grandchild at Achempim in the Upper Dentra East Municipality in the Central Region. Firefighters were called in at 1:04 a.m. and they got to the scene in 16 minutes, but found the bedroom engulfed in flames and padlocked from the outside. The officers, however, doused the fire in 12 minutes, but the act was too late to save a single life inside. Efriye was said to be having potency issues and had suspected his wife of adultery. The fire victims, the Ghana National Fire Service said, comprised 5 children aged between 7 months and 15 years, an older daughter and their mother. The children were named as their names and ages are provided here. Investigations. Preliminary investigations by the Ghana National Fire Service and the police suggest that the estranged husband, Yahweh Friye, intentionally started the fire in the room where his family was sleeping. Friye, aka Batman, is alleged to have locked the door from the outside to prevent them from escaping the furnace before fleeing the scene. His body was later found hanging from a tree after supposedly taking his own life in a nearby bush on the outskirts of Achempim, where the police discovered the body. Information gathered by the Daily Graphic indicated that Efriye, a farmer and small-scale miner, had been married to Amadapa for more than a decade. That marriage, the newspaper gathered, had a history of abuse. A source told the Daily Graphic that Efriye had abused his wife and the children several times over the years, with the incidents increasing more recently. Jail. The source stated that Efriye had spent 3 months in jail recently for causing life-threatening injuries to 2 of his children. The injuries to the children, the witness said, had happened because the wife escaped a weapon thrown at her that landed on them. They were hospitalized at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital for months. The source said the abuse caused Amadapa to move out of her matrimonial home to her parents, also at Achempim, after several mediation efforts to get Efriye to desist from the violent acts proved futile. His sense of insecurity appeared to increase daily, with the tempo of abuse rising at every turn in a family that gained notoriety for the regular feud. The Upper Dentra East Municipal Commander of Police, Deputy Superintendent of Police Simon Boavo, corroborated the story, stating that Mr. Pa had appealed for mercy for Efriye after he was sentenced, explaining that he was the breadwinner. He said the woman urged the court to temper justice with mercy, compelling the court to sentence him to only 3 months in jail. Reunion. DSP Boavo said that after his jail term, Efriye reunited with his wife and family, but the abuse continued. After mediation failed, the families advised Ms. Dapa to move to her family house with her children. DSP Boavo recounted eyewitness accounts that indicated that Efriye had chanced upon Amadapa outside her home around 12 midnight on the day of the incident and questioned her about why she was still in the town at that time of the night when the children were asleep. He was said to have urged her to go and sleep and even escorted her to the house. DSP Bravo said neighbors and family members had also told the police that the estranged husband had threatened to kill Amadapa anytime and then commit suicide before the installment of the new Dentrahine, but indicated that no one reported the matter to the police, describing the incident as unfortunate. On fateful day. A statement signed by the Central Regional Public Relations Officer of the Ghana National Fire Service Divisional Officer DO2 Abdul Wasiu Hudu explained that the tragic incident occurred in the early hours of Saturday, November 1, 2025. The statement said the Dunkwa Fire Station received a distress call at 1:04 a.m. on Saturday and promptly dispatched a team to the scene. It said firefighters arrived at 1:20 a.m. to find one of the bedrooms of the four-bedroom house numbered AA F5259 7534 engulfed in flames and padlocked from the outside. Despite their swift response, the statement added that the 7 occupants were trapped and could not be rescued. The fire crew, it indicated, managed to contain the blaze by 1:32 a.m., preventing it from other rooms. The fire service said the charred bodies of the victims were later handed over to the police at Atechim for further investigations. The statement described the incident as deeply tragic and urged the public to remain vigilant and practice fire safety at all times. The bodies now at the Dunkwa Municipal Government Hospital mortuary would be handed over to the families for burial after post-mortem.
Yeah. So that was the story. You know, what is interesting is that this story originally was written, at least a version of this came out on November 5, which is yesterday. And at the time, all these details were not known. It was just 7 burned to death in suspected arson attack at Dunkwa at Chimpim. But the graphic and then the other story today give further details of the history of the relationship, the man's previous incarceration and all of that. And it gives us a clearer picture. So, and I'm grateful the graphic did this because initially it was reported as a fire incident, suspected arson, and then we leave it based on those facts. But I think that the reporter went beyond just the surface, and now we see what is clearly a very, very troubling thing. Sky, I don't know, you were explaining before we came on air the levels of failure. You were saying that there's so many things that are wrong with our society in this story. If you can add a bit of meat to that.
So I think there are 5 levels of failure here. And before I proceed, let me use the opportunity to, extend my deepest condolences, or our deepest condolences to the families affected by this tragedy. Losing 7 or 8 people on one night is completely actually you can't understand it. So that having been said, I see 5 main failures. The first one is failure of law enforcement and judicial protection. The second one is failure of cultural mediation without the necessary protection. The third one I see is a coordination.
Sorry. What's the second one again?
The second one is failure of cultural mediation without the necessary protection. The third one, in my view, is coordination failure amongst the police, welfare, and mental health services or institutions. The fourth one is failure of mental health intervention. And then the final one is failure on the part of the community in the area of vigilance and prevention.
Law enforcement and cultural mediation, intervention, coordination between police, welfare, and mental health itself, and community failure. So break it down.
So talking about the first one, which has to do with failure of law enforcement and judicial protection, if you read the story, we are told that this gentleman, who is now deceased, is known to have consistently abused the wife and then the children. Now, ideally, in any society where you would expect that the state will protect people suffering such harm, such violence, the state will go in, first of all, remove the children or ask the gentleman to be removed from the house. Now, you get those orders from the courts. You get those orders on the basis of what report is submitted to the court by the security institutions. On the basis of what social welfare officers would have submitted to the court to say that the gentleman is either a threat to himself and or the family, or is a threat to the family, and therefore it will be safe. It would sin against our constitutional provisions protecting life and property and families from harm to allow the gentleman to continue to be in the house. On the facts, reading the story, it would seem that that was not done. And so when the court was convicting him for having harmed the two kids who suffered that, the violence that brought them to the Kolebo.
Initially aimed at the mother.
Exactly. The mother then came in to say, their mother came in to say that, oh, this is the breadwinner of the family, or was the breadwinner, so please don't put him away. And then they gave him 3 months.
Was that an offense?
Exactly. And when you look at it, it would seem to me that the justice system needs to answer some questions.
Yeah.
What was the basis for coming to the conclusion that this man should get only 3 months, when on the facts, someone who harmed the kids to the extent that they had to spend a long time in hospital? These are grievous bodily harm.
And this harm occurred in basically when he was threatening to do something to his wife.
The wife.
So we don't know what implement he threw or whatever he did,
Exactly.
which hit the kids for them to be hospitalized for that long.
Exactly. So the question is, how did the court come to the conclusion that he was deserving of 3 months?
And were there any consequential orders after the 3 months? You get it. So do you just put him in for 3 months and forget it? It's terrible. So that's the first one.
Yeah, the first one.
Law enforcement and judicial protection.
Exactly. Now, the second one has to do with failure of cultural mediation without protection. If you read the story, we are told that the family people, the community people, tried to pull them together after the man went to jail. Like, using the gentleman is quite offensive.
The fellow.
Yeah, the fellow, went to jail. When he returned, the family sought to pull them together.
Yeah.
Now, as I have stated, and on the basis of the facts, it would seem that this man had a history of violence towards the family.
Yeah.
Now, to assume that community engagements or familial engagements will lead to a situation where they will be able to live happily thereafter must have been based on some faulty understanding of what exactly was happening.
Yeah.
So the question is, the people who were mediating, did they have the relevant training to spot specific fault lines that would give rise to certain things happening again? If they did not, on what basis did they come to the conclusion that it was possible for them to live together in the same home? And then also, if you are mediating, right, in specific cases, family people will remove either the wife and or the kids from the home
For a period.
While they engage in mediation to see whether there is a change in conduct as to lead them to conclude that, okay, now it is safe to bring them together. And this speaks to some other matters. You know, I speak to people in marital dispute in the course of my duties as a lawyer. And in many families, the insistence is that don't pack and leave your husband's house.
That's what they will say.
That's what they will say.
Irrespective of what is happening to you.
Irrespective of what is happening in the house, stay. And it is happening in the mosque. The malams are giving those pieces of advice. The clerks, the clergy, pastors. They are also giving, pastors are also giving those pieces of advice. And in some cases, professional mediators are also giving these pieces of advice. Because the state has failed.
Stay and suffer.
They say whatever it is, manage.
For the
Suffer in silence.
Exactly.
In
Exactly. Some men decide that if the home is too toxic, they are removing themselves. Some women decide that if the home is too toxic, they are removing themselves. But family pressure sometimes insists that come and live together in the same situation while they seek to enforce
cultural mediation.
Cultural mediation.
Do the third one. I'll take a break. When I come back, you do the fourth and the fifth.
Yeah.
You said the fourth one was failure of coordination. Third one, coordination between police, welfare, social welfare, and mental health.
Yeah, Bernard. In other jurisdictions, the institutions in these spaces speak to them, each other. You are arrested today. The circumstances suggest that, look, you are a threat to your family. They speak to social welfare. They believe that, okay, you have a mental health condition. They speak to the necessary institution, so a psychiatric institution, or maybe someone, a shrink who is in the community who can help, and all of that. On the facts of the story that we have read, it would seem that the institutions in these spaces have not spoken to each other.
So you don't think police even made any effort to talk to social welfare about the state of the woman?
Exactly. And then also,
we don't know whether in the court case the man's mental health was examined.
No, the facts don't give us.
We don't have enough information on that.
Exactly. So
even if they did, would they even have the time and the patience in the justice delivery system of Ghana to even, check his mental health record and use that? Oh God. So the whole system didn't even work with each other.
No. The lack of coordination here speaks volumes as to how badly we have failed as a country to protect the family of 8, or is it 7? Because the guy.
So 5 people. Okay, actually 7 people.
Yes, because the
5
grandchild
children.
involved. Yes, 5 children, 5, the wife, 6, then the grandchild, 7, and then he himself.
Oh God.
That takes it to 8
In one day.
one day.
It's terrible. We'll take a break. This is the City Breakfast Show. Some of these stories we need to discuss because, we can't look away, and if we don't look in this mirror that Sky and the graphic story is putting before us, we cannot solve any problem. Sometimes issues like this give us a good chance to see the overall effectiveness of a system, or to remind us of the responsibility we have towards solving problems in our society. All right. And so I want all of us to engage on this in a very positive way. Those of us who have people with marital challenges, and every time we tell them go and sit in your house, or our very laissez approach to abuse in the home and all of those things. So we'll take our time. We'll finish and speak to somebody I consider an expert in the field, because she's worked in this for about 20 years, built shelters for abused people, and understands what reforms are needed to solve this.
Take advantage of the tools.
This is the City Breakfast. Let's come back to the story we're reading. This very, very sad
Cape Coast
and
Central Region.
disturbing report. It started out as an arson story, 7 burned to death in suspected arson. Now it's been confirmed that apparently a man, an abusive man, set his family on fire at a place called Achimpim, Upper Dentra East. This early hours of Saturday, November 1. The story got to us yesterday, the 5th of November, following a statement from the Ghana National Fire Service. The Dunkwa Onofin Fire Station received a distress call at 1:04 a.m. Promptly dispatched a crew. And for once, this was not a failure of fire, because they got there at 1:20 from what we are told. So the call came at 1:04. They got there at 1:20 to find one of the bedrooms of the 4-bedroom house completely engulfed in flames and locked from the outside. The team contained the fire by 1:32 a.m., preventing it from spreading to the rest of the house. However, 7 occupants, 2 adults and 5 children, aged between 1 and 15 years, were trapped inside and could not be rescued. Preliminary investigations suggest the husband of the deceased deliberately set the house on fire. Now we're told he set the house on fire and killed himself. I don't know whether he was in the fire or he was found himself hanging.
No, he hanged himself, according to the story.
So 7 people in the house, and then he hung himself later on.
Yes, in a bush not far away.
Yeah, and you say law enforcement and judicial protection has failed, cultural mediation failed, coordination between police, welfare, social welfare, and mental health failed. You also said the mental health simplicity also failed.
Exactly.
And then talk about the community one.
So the community one, for me, it's one of the most alarming, because look, when you live in a community and you notice that there's someone who is consistently abusing the family, you have a responsibility as a citizen under Article 41 of the Constitution to help to bring about lawful, resolution of whatever the problem is within that particular household. So that this story told us that consistently the members of the community had heard the man threaten that he was going to kill the woman and then commit suicide for the family involved.
He said it in public.
Yes, publicly told people.
And they didn't do anything about it.
They didn't do anything about it. Now, I mean, in other jurisdictions where people are alive to some of these responsibilities, the moment you pick up something like that, or you even witness it from your window, that someone is abusing either the husband or the wife or the kids, what they do is they call the police. That I am calling from so and so, and in address number so and so, someone is abusing the husband or the wife or the kids. The police should do something about it. But to have heard all of these things and knowing the history of the man and not doing anything about it is a major community
Let's
failure.
speak to Angela Dramina Boaji, who is the MTN Hero of Change winner for 2025 and also the founder of the ACT Foundation, which we know has built shelters for abused women and has been doing this for at least 2 decades, if I remember. Auntie Angela, thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Bernard.
So this morning, the story I've called you about is really distressing. A husband has killed 5 kids, killed his wife, committed suicide apparently. And as we've been reading, this is something that has a history. He had initially harmed the kids, had been jailed for 3 months, brought back to live with the same family, and he's basically committed this dastardly act. First, we are trying to understand whose failure led to this before we even talk about the work you do and how we can prevent this in the future. What is your reading of the situation? I'm sure you've seen the graphic story. What is your reading of the situation and whose failure led to this type of thing?
Wow, what a question. It's a hydra-headed question. Whose failure? I think society failed. Society failed by its institutions, by the state itself, by the community, by the family of these 2 persons, and ultimately it has affected the people in the family, the wife and the children. So if it comes to failure, I think we can distribute the blame across board. Protection for our families in our country is very weak, and thereby we tend to overlook those within the family who may be vulnerable to this kind of violence. And we add our cultural understanding of how we handle these matters. Okay, so you can see that there was activity from the wife in saying, please don't sentence him, don't treat him harshly. I'm sure family may have come in to also try and put them together again without attacking the root cause of this kind of violence. And that's the result we get.
One of my colleagues thinks that the judicial system also didn't help, because if somebody has harmed his kids in an attempt to harm his wife and they have had to be hospitalized for a long period and is sent to court and is given a 3-month sentence, that seems to be a slap on the wrist. And also, there didn't seem to be any consequential orders around restraining him. It's basically go to prison for 3 months, go and sin no more kind of thing.
And that's why I spoke about the institutions. That's the first one that I said, and that includes the court. Now, violence of this kind is a peculiar kind, let me put it that way. These are not common household arguments. I saw in the newspaper a feud. This is not a feud. These are not 2 equal people who are, arguing and tearing each other apart, if you like, usually without one being in the dominating position. In this case, this is clear violence, and it is one in which one person is dominating it. So you need to treat it in a certain way. And unfortunately, a lot of our institutions do not have that capacity through training. It's not something, you need to be trained to be able to identify and know what to do. Okay, so that a sensitive judge should be able to, and I know they've been training them these days, thankfully, but I don't know what happened with that other judge. Okay, would not only provide a sentencing, but also make consequential orders, even by themselves, what we call in law suo motu. Okay, but oftentimes the victim is left to go and look for legal assistance, which is expensive, to apply for a protection order. Sometimes they don't even know that these things exist within the law, because no institution is publicizing or educating the masses enough to know that these protections exist. And even when they get to know, applying for a protection order in this country will cost you anything between 8,000 and 15,000 Ghana cedis. But it's in the law. Who's going to get that amount of money to be able to apply for, even if they get to know? Okay, so we it's failure all around.
Now, you set up the ARC Foundation, I don't know, is it 15, 20 years ago? Because of
26 years
26 years ago, because of this problem. I find it a bit disheartening that 26 years later, despite the fact that the whole nation knows the importance of what you do, you want the MTN Hero of Change. So clearly, the nation knows that it's a very important thing to do. I'm not sure I can count on my 10 fingers the number of facilities like yours that exist in the country.
Neither can I. we are still probably the only known formal, I stress on formal because probably there's few people doing privately, sheltering people and so on. Thank God for their lives. A formally known domestic violence shelter in the country. There are few other shelters, okay. For example, in the north, there's something for people fleeing child marriages. That's one I know about. The state has been trying to bring up one someplace, okay. It hasn't happened yet. And so, yes, that's painful to some of us. Okay, it's very painful because this is 26 years after we set up, or this is 1999, and we still do not have enough of such facilities. And it is not just about even the facilities, but what they can also provide in collaboration or in conjunction with the state agencies. Because, yes, we are not the police. We can't prosecute. We are not the hospital. We can't do a cesarean section for children who have been defiled by their fathers and are carrying their babies. We are not the court. So there needs to be a way of working that enables the courts, the hospitals, the psychologists, the shelters, and the counseling and all of those things to work together. And that is also something we are failing at very, very badly. So and it's not as though we don't know by law or policy. We know by law or policy, but we are not doing enough to put those systems in place so that somebody who enters into the system, for example, this woman, okay, some way, somehow, she entered into the police system and she entered into the court system. But what happened after that? How was the state able to protect her through the system? Because somebody would care enough to see that this is a cycle of violence that is occurring. And when there's a cycle, it does not break. It won't break. It only breaks by strong intervention. Sometimes people will blame the women for going to beg. Yes, that's what women do. Their wives, they went to marry. They don't want to stop being married. They don't want to lose their marriages. Okay? And that's the socialization. They just want the violence to stop. So you can't blame them for going to beg. That's what they do. Even if they don't beg, other people will put pressure on them to let go of the case. A lot of people. This year, many spouses have been killed. Mostly women. I've counted not less than 10. I'm sure there's more. And often it happens like that. It's like a dominoes. But this time it's so tragic because all the children went to.
So intimate partner violence and spousal killings is not even coming down based on the work you do.
No. Because year after year, we get it's like a pack of dominoes falling, okay? And it happens very funny enough. In another cyclical, it's like every 2 years, you get a stream of people killing their wives or girlfriends, one after the other, after the other. And then it stops for a while. Then it starts again. So we do have problems. But that also hides the fact that the injuries, those who don't get killed, but get beaten and, injured and so on, there are so many of them. Many go unreported because they can't trust the system.
Right. So I want to come to how to systematize your example. So 26 years ago, you set this thing up through grit and determination. What I want to find out is that does the state collaborate with you in any way, either in terms of referring people to you, and also giving you any financial support because you are providing a social service. How does this work? Or they just come and leave the people and go? Or you go and find the people?
Bernard, you know, it's as though you work with me in my office. So that has been our experience, okay? Now let me just say that you can't do what we are doing without collaborating with the state. So like I said, when somebody comes to you, whether they call the hotline or they come directly, and then, or they are referred to us by the state, and we get referrals from the Gender Ministry, the Domestic Violence Secretariat, DOFSU, from IOCO, from Immigration, from Anti-Trafficking Unit, we do. So we are already collaborating with the state, and we need to go back and forth, you know, in trying to handle the case and so on. So we work together. But when it comes to support, the least said about it better. But we are trying, we are pushing, and we are hoping to get results, because about 90% of our clients come from state institutions, and it's been very difficult, you know, financially. Every place, you know, if somebody comes to you pregnant, a girl of 13 years old, without national health insurance, with nothing on their backs, you are taking care of the person, body, soul, spirit, everything. So it's not been easy at all. At all. So we are pushing hard for the state to also consider us as a crisis service and support the people that they bring to us.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of back and forth here.
Now, by your training and because of where you've come from, you've been able to do this for this long. Even if we were to get churches or private sector people to say, we are going to build one ARC Foundation shelter per region, will we have enough people to work there in the type of thing you do? Because I know you're a lawyer, you are a social worker, all kinds of things together. How do you, because the reason I'm coming this direction is a lot of times when we discuss problems, the government throws money at the problem. And it's okay, we are giving 1 million cedis to build 16 shelters, wherever. And they become white elephants. It seems to me as if the bigger issue is to find people with passion and training to man whatever is built in a way that can make it effective. Right. So I want you to talk a bit about that, because it's not about just having a building. It's about having people with the training and the commitment and the knowledge to deliver the service, which is I think where the problem is.
Absolutely. And how did a very young lawyer with no training get the training? We look for it. Okay. It's the same thing. There are enough social workers in the system. There are nurses who don't have work to do. There are psychologist assistants around who are still looking for jobs. There are psychologists looking for jobs. Okay. There are people who can man the shelter, okay, who are looking for jobs. And all we need to do is to train them and put them in these places and be able to pay them. I think that's where the issue comes. People, yes, we do have them. We do have even people who have enough education. What they need is the specific training. And it won't be just for the shelter. It's also to continue training for the DOFSU police everywhere, to continue training for the judges, you know, and especially because some of these things happen from the outside. Make sure those in the regions and the districts are all being trained on these issues, to continue training for SHRAJ officers. Sometimes some of these cases come before them, and social workers across board. Because violence is like 1 out of 3 adult women experience violence in this country every year. Okay, talking about children, the data crowd, we haven't even started confronting it. So it's a reality. And we need to work at building the capacity of institutions, because believe you me, those of us who work where I work still have to confront insensitive officials in the institutions who can mess up your issue. But those days when we had more training, it was easy to work with people at the institution because they understand the dynamics of violence. Okay, if a woman cannot apply for a protection order because they don't have the money, the judge understands that they can move one by themselves. Do you see what I mean? And once I get them to go and settle the matter, without even knowing what settlement has been done. Okay, so it's very, very important to think about a coordinated approach with capacity building and a response that is quick enough to save this kind of situation that we have seen with this person. And even the other side, the leg that is missing is the perpetrator work. Yeah. You can't just throw a perpetrator in jail without working on them. You can't. Yeah. We have had a perpetrator who sent a warning from prison that when he comes out, he's coming to get the woman. He sent a warning from prison to us.
Okay. So there's also a mental health dimension to all of this, which is also missing.
Not all the time, yes. There may be. Often the people who do this do it out of a sense of impunity and power and control. They won't do it to other people. So it shows you they are not sick. Those who are sick mentally, they will do it everywhere. You know, like they are nuisance at work, in the farm, everywhere. But those who feel that they have power and control over other people in their lives, they will do this out of that place. And you need specific work for people like that. You can't just throw them in jail and let them come back. Yeah. Because when they come back, they may come back with something worse in their head.
Right. So, Angela, so this is my closing. Your award, I think, is good because it brings into prominence your work for 3 decades for the whole nation to see. And I believe the prominence it gives you also gives an opportunity for the ministry to take a much closer look at the type of work you do and support it in a more meaningful way. So I really hope that the ministry reached out, or if hopefully listen to this interview or other interviews, they will reach out. And also, I don't know what MTN gave you, but I also think they have some level of convening power beyond, because I think the best award to you will not be whatever they give you to support your institution, but to institutionalize what you do.
Absolutely.
So I don't know whether that discussion is going on, but we are happy to be part of that. Between the ministry, the company, yourself, clearly this evil that has happened should be enough to move the society to do something beyond the lip service. So I don't know whether you are willing to lead anything like this, but I'll support you if we have to. Seriously.
Bernard, I'll be happy for that support. I've been pushing for that. MTN gave us 100,000 for the project, okay, which is very nice. But of course, you know, even by now that money has been spent, okay, because of the kind of So it's very nice, but it's clearly not enough if we want to do something beyond what is currently on the ground and to even use the services we have more effectively. So I'll be happy for you to also support this cause. And I'll be reaching out to MTN again. They know I've been reaching out to them to have this conversation, okay? And I'm expecting a call back. So it will be very good for, of course, City to also add your clout to a conversation like this and to even utilize what we already have in a more effective way, because the policy that we have are comprehensive enough to get us doing a much better job than we have done.
Thank you so much, Auntie Angela Jumana Boaje, who is the founder of the ARC Foundation, MTN Hero of Change for 2025, 26 years in the business. And I think what she knows and what she does brings everything together. Because from the things Sky was discussing, law enforcement, judicial protection, cultural mediation, coordination, mental health, impunity, community failure, I think building a shelter for people who are going through either intimate partner abuse or spousal abuse of any kind is something we should have, not just in Accra. And then, as we've said, it's not just about the building, because you need the training. She's a lawyer, she's a social worker. We need to have that thing. And I really want to appeal to the Ministry of Gender listening to me that, you know, there are lots of problems you face, social welfare issues generally, street kids. But I think that this issue of spousal and intimate partner violence and the need for shelters is very important, because he mentions the law aspect too, where the person can apply for certain. So,
but the cost is
that's what I'm saying. That so what I'm trying to say to the minister is that if she can work with this woman to think about getting more ARC Foundation type centers with the right lawyers, the right pro bono training, because it's not just the buildings, the people, the right social. Because if that even exists in every district, because don't forget, this is dangerous. Even if the judge was minded to refer the lady to a place, it would have been easier if the person lives in Cape Coast. Yes, because it will not occur to a judge in a dangerous case to say that there's ACT Foundation in Hachu. So let's move the 5 kids and a woman to, it's going to be too much. If we had institutions and said, okay, every district will have one with properly trained social welfare, at least then you can say, police, send it to social welfare and let them put her in this place until I give another order. And in that place, it's police protected, it's a place where there's food, people can still go to school. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we should not allow this tragedy to go waste and say, oh, it's a sad story, the man will burn in hell. No. We, the living, must do something about it. And I really think that the Minister of Gender should take this personal. Because I think she's the only person with the level of convening power to talk to some people. So she can say to Church of Pentecost, MTN, Angela Jamna, let's come together and say, let's build 16, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, shelters.
But I'll ask you, for me, it's also not just about the physical infrastructure. It's about increasing the personnel and their availability, and also improving their mobility. So, social workers, it's a very unique calling. It's kind of like a teacher. It's an essential service. Unfortunately for us, this side, we don't treat it like an essential service. So we don't even have enough. Back in the day, I think we had a department of social work. I don't even know how many people. I don't even know how many people apply for it anymore to go and say I want to be a social worker, because it's not sexy. And people, how much money are you going to make from it? Which is why essentially it's a calling. It's one of those things where if you don't really feel passionate about it, because it's not something you can do and make money.
No,
you understand. But I think in addition to the infrastructure that provides the shelter, we need persons like this to be available in the districts as well, where at least they are available to provide consults, they are available to advise the courts because in a case like this, so imagine if when this case was being heard, the first assault, during that case, the district social worker was in the court, and the judge would perhaps confer and say, what do you think I should do? Because the judge is a person of law. But
so he can then consult.
He can just consult the social worker and say, Mr. Madam, what else do you think needs to be done to ensure safety for these kids, so that I can add that to my ruling. In that where then
my orders,
where the provision of the shelters and others then becomes a necessity. Because based on that, you can go.
So it's not enough to put a man in prison for 3 months.
Exactly.
You could say for the next 1 year, the state will take care of this woman, whilst we try and see if this man has reformed.
And also, it's about these people also provide, the social workers when they're on the ground, provide education in schools and whatnot about, as a child, you must know when you are being abused. When they are in the communities, they get to hear about some of these situations and might visit these homes where they are, because they are empowered by the state. When they visit a home and get a feeling that a home is not safe, they can act preemptively and say, well, when I visited this home at this time, I felt that we needed to remove this element from the home. So this is my decision. In a lot of places, social workers are very, very powerful people. They are very, 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 very powerful people.
So right.
You don't want to get a visit
from them.
Because it means there's a big problem. They can break you down.
They can even recommend that your child
be taken away from you.
In some jurisdictions with children with special needs, when a social worker comes to do an assessment and realizes that you are not providing the right environment, they can query you as a parent, and you will be forced to even go through some training to have access to that child. So, but
we have left those things. I'm coming.
Okay,
we have left those things to the vagaries of what our culture has always been.
Yeah.
So families deal with their internal problems. As you understand?
Yeah.
A social worker is a stranger. Why are you coming to interfere in the marriage of Mr. A and Mr. B? The family will deal with it. In fact, the presence of the social worker brings shame.
Yeah.
There's a certain stigmatization attached to the visit because you have somebody who's not family coming to deal with these matters. The person is not a church person. The person is not a community person, you know. So I think there's also the general orientation that we have about the roles these persons play in our society that also needs to change and increase their numbers. I think it's one of the key things the minister needs to do is to find a way. We are increasing everybody. We are increasing community police. We are finding ways to hire all kinds of people, but we are not increasing an essential service like social work.
Who are trained in
you know, and
areas.
that's also because again, I don't think as a country we've come to realize just how important this is and the links. Look, last year the Mental Health Authority boss said we had a 40% increase in suicide cases.
40.
40%.
Wow.
Most of them being male. Now, last year, because we spent a lot of time on the newspaper review, you would realize, this is why I brought up suicides, you would realize that most of the suicide cases were linked to a person who had either caused harm to his wife or child and then taking his life. It wasn't just a matter of, I'm just taking my life. Kind of like what we saw with this person. Exactly. They can't live with it. So there's no escape route. So they take their own lives. So kind of like this person who basically wipes out his entire family and then hangs himself.
Terrible.
Okay. And the attempts also have gone up. It's not just the actual suicides that have gone up. The attempt to take lives has also gone up according to the Mental Health Authority. And so if you sit down as a ministry and you see these numbers, certainly you ask yourself, what can we do to bring down these numbers? What can we do? Because a lot of, and these are not just rural problems. These are urban problems as well.
Yeah, it happens everywhere.
It happens everywhere. So it's not like you can say, this place needs it more than this place. It's something that needs equal attention. You know, it's something that needs equal attention. So very, very sad story this morning.
I wonder what will,
you know,
it would be good for us as media to go back to the community, to speak to people now that it has happened, to ask them if they feel they could have done anything to prevent it. That's number one. Number two, when they do the funeral, because you see, my issue with Ghanaians is that when death occurs, and the way we interpret death, we don't do a reckoning. So let me give you an example, which may not be palatable. So we've lost 8 people in a helicopter crash. I can bet you that they will hush the findings of what caused the crash, because the society is not ready to say, yes, we've mourned the 8, but in honor of their memory, let's find the truth. They'll say, this one is a highest level security, something, whatever. So and you see, we don't collectively learn. So we are going to keep repeating the same mistakes, because it's like in your own individual life. If you don't learn from mistakes, you can't do better. So the way our duty bearers treat these official reports of death, and I'm using that as an example here. A community will come and say, okay, on my way into them, let's forget about it and move on. Right? But the way we interpret that shows that it will keep happening, because it's a cycle. If you can't say, here's the report on the death of the 8, this is what happened, this is the failure, these are the actions we are going to take, this is the timelines we are going to use, never again. But we say never again as an incantation. Never again. Tofiakwa. Never again is not going to obey how loud you say it. If you don't implement change, it will happen again. You get it? So never again is not a response, it's not a charge, or it's not a prayer. Never again is a decision made by implementing change, gained by learning from your mistake. And the reason I'm saying is that just same way the families and the community will deal with this is how collectively as a country we deal with these matters. So they will go and say, the same way there, It's so sad. Oh. Let's just leave it. We don't want to remind everybody. So let's make it a dark chapter in our life so we can move on. Move on to where? You are not moving anywhere, because wherever you are moving is going to wait for you. Somebody's going to do it 10 times worse. So there must be a collective acceptance of responsibility by society. You get it? We should let death provoke us to implement change and not be, resign to, oh, it is the Lord's will. No, it's a big issue for me. Number 2, I want to appeal to social forces. So, for example, Church of Pentecost was doing a great thing. They are building prisons. I think other groups, now that we've seen that this is a problem, intimate partner violence, spousal abuse, and essentially lack of shelters for abused people, I think it's an act of religious service for churches and mosques to start building these things. And also encouraging their people to be trained to man them.
Yep.
For example, because drug abuse has become such a problem, we know that there are institutions. For example, if you go to Ashaiman, there is a very well-renowned drug rehabilitation center that the Catholic Church has built because they understand the problem of drug abuse and the fact that people are addicted. And they have a proven method that I have heard many people say works. There's a treatment they give you if you go there for 6 months. If you really want to be healed, you will be healed. And they do it spiritually and academically. I think that now that this matter has come up today, people who are looking for a good social cause, I think they should get in touch with ARC Foundation, get in touch with the Ministry of Gender and say, okay, we want to know how much it will cost us to build and equip and train a shelter like this in a district as a starting point. I want people, Ghanaians who listen to this show and say they are angry about something or they are worried, or maybe there's a company that's considering its CSR budget for next year. I want to urge HR managers to look into this matter.
Yep.
Pick this story up, call Angela, and meet the Ministry of Gender. I was being shown a picture of a school built by some people at high quality school, not at the same cost as the state built it. So if these institutions want to build this thing, don't even leave the money to the state. Build it yourself. Okay? Go and get a technical people to design the thing for you to say, how will a shelter that accommodates abused people look like? What are the basics it needs? What does it need to function? What type of person must man it? Go to Legon and talk to social work department. How long will it take to train people to work in this field? I think we must organize around this. And also donors. If you're looking for a good place to put your money, I think this case presents us a very fantastic chance. We as media will support it. All right? We have many things we want to do. I always tell people that we cannot lead everything we consider important, but we can support it. Okay, we are leading a rice campaign, Eat Ghana Food campaign. We cannot lead everything, but there are many people who can lead different things. Okay, and I think the stars have aligned in Angela winning MTN Heroes of Change this year. And I went to that event because we won an award there for the work we did in the Volta region. Sky, almost all the finalists had very strong.
Yeah.
But
Profiles.
when they mentioned her as the winner, everybody knew that she deserved it because she's done it for 2.5 decades, and mostly with her own resources. Right. So it was very clear that she was a deserving winner. But I think that if for once this work has been identified as a leading work in 26 years, maybe CSR budgets can start going into those areas because now, for example, Pink October is part of CSR.
Yeah.
When the media frames an issue well enough, people see it as a need. I think shelters for abused women is a very important cause. Now, the last point, most of the banks are mentioning their profit. We have a profit level of about 200% or whatever. All the banks have made profit. I think that if even 5 banks decide that they will do CSR in this area to provide seed money, like the way we came together to do the COVID shelter thing, the COVID thing, I think they should consider it in their planning work. Because the social welfare system is broken, I don't really trust if politicians say we are going to. They will do it, but the way they will even do it is not the way we want it.
But Bernard, you see, my only thing there is we need. It is imperative that the state leads social welfare.
No problem.
It is imperative that the state. You see,
they can't hide.
Wait for the state.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying we should wait.
I
understand.
Let him make the. I think the point is that they must take leadership.
They must take leadership. You see, I think our pressure must also be brought to the doorsteps of the state, where the state must not be allowed to just say, well,
to shirk his responsibility.
The private individuals will handle it. Social welfare is
it's too important to
leave in private hands.
When I use this CSR, I'm saying that they should
I
provide
agree with you.
Resources,
yes, I agree with you. And the state should be very interested in these things. We see, because we are all wards of the state.
Mm-hmm.
There is no person born in the country or within a territorial jurisdiction who is not a ward of that state.
Correct.
We are all wards of this state. So the state cannot sit down and say that I am more interested in this part of the country than taking care of the individuals. And by that, emotionally, spiritually, physically, at all levels.
Let's take a few comments.
At all levels. Let me read some for you.
Yeah, while we are there, somebody says, there's a serious gridlock on the motorway. Massive traffic. I've been in traffic for the past 2.5 hours with little or no movement. Please alert the police to assist. Kujo, I think this is what it is. Because of the road construction, when a car breaks down, it makes it very difficult. Because they are now demarcating these places.
Yeah.
But let's read some other comments.
Let me read some comments. And Bernard, just a reminder. I still can't get out of my head that it will cost you. It will cost you between 8,000
to 15,000
to be able to
file those
processes.
Who wrote the law?
It's not the law. That's not a law. It's the way the court system works.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's not the law that's wrong.
This is. I know. I'm just saying this is something that's supposed to deal with vulnerable people.
Yes.
The person who is vulnerable is supposed to look for money. Anyway,
Akoto, because
good morning, Bernard.
Legal aid itself is not working as well, and I think we should spend some time to discuss this. Legal aid, where people who are not able to afford commercial legal services are supported, is very difficult.
Yes.
It's very difficult.
Right.
And Sky, I want you one of these days to let's have a program on it.
Okay.
Yes, even the way we speak to our lawyers when we train them about the importance, the social importance of a lawyer. As against the commercial attractiveness of the profession.
Yeah.
Right? Because what I see is a lot of people going into the profession because it's
glamorous.
It's glamorous. But I think the glamour should be laced with the service dimension. Law as a service to the society. Same like medicine and teaching. You see, you can take the pictures and show us that you're a nice lawyer. But show us also that you've done 6 months of pro bono law at the Legal Resources Center. For fun. Add that to your CV. And it must count for something. Add that to your CV. Let's not make law only for the rich and for it's not right.
No, you see, the requirements are there that in your service to the state, every year there should be a contribution you make in the area of pro bono services.
But who monitors it?
Anyway,
let me read comments. Keep quiet. Kingsley Goshmello says, "Good morning, Bernard. I live in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, known to be a rural area. I closed from work yesterday in the morning after my night shift, and the highway to my home was blocked for 4 hours with heavy police presence, paramedics, and fire trucks. The reason? A pedestrian had been knocked down by a car and had died. Avoidable deaths are rampant in Ghana, and we seem to have normalized it. Here, just one death is a big deal. Even people who get fired from work are given counselors. Ghana should take human lives more serious. There were signs prior to this atrocity, but they were ignored. This is sad." This is Kingsley, who lives in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. "Good morning, Bernard. Both the police and the court failed totally. They could have prevented this situation. Good morning, City Breakfast Show. With the issue of a husband burning the family and failure points raised by Sky, the law enforcement agent, that's the police, at times takes these issues as if it is nothing when it is being reported to them. They treat it lightly and deal with and work with no sense of urgency. I currently have a case at the Adenta Dofsu, which is a life-threatening one, but the police there are joking with it, and the complainant has to leave his house and be staying at a guest house just because until he finds funds to rent accommodation." Eric Koforidia, I'm not going to read your message. Good morning, Bernard and team. This unfortunate incident has led to the death of 7+1 persons. It should be thoroughly investigated and reforms implemented across all governmental agencies. Meanwhile, the oldest is 15 and there is a grandchild.
We don't know if it's the grandchild or the woman.
Yeah.
We don't have the features, but
There
there
are
are 7 people involved.
Lots of issues here. This is Odadia Togbi Kachenakbo from Ashalibotre. Good morning. Regarding this unfortunate story, I believe the blame lies with our law enforcement and judicial system. In many instances, when one reports the wrongdoing to the police, the reporter's identity is supposed to remain confidential. Unfortunately, officers often end up disclosing the name of the informant to the accused, thereby putting the person's life at risk. Because of this breach of trust, many people choose to remain silent and keep their peace. This is Bright Blavo. Sky is 100% right. I work in this field and I know what I'm talking about. The failure is everywhere. Dear Bernard and team, in Ghana, the space for social welfare is completely missing and is now occupied by the churches and mosques. A lot of people run to churches just because of some of these services they will get. Until we take it seriously, this issue will not be the last. Vincent from North Legon. Good morning. I've had to work with the social welfare department. They are painfully under-resourced. No transportation, no paper, no hardware or software. So how do they execute their work? How are they motivated?
That's true.
These are questions coming in from Anne.
That's very, very
And
true.
then this one this is a tip that has been given to us. Thank you very much for this tip. We'll follow up on it. We will make sure that we're able to resolve this matter. So our good friend from wherever it is, thank you for this tip.
We'll follow up on it.
We'll follow up on it. Good morning, City Breakfast Show. I agree with Bernard. Very little reckoning is done. Question: what has happened to the soldier who assaulted the pharmacist and the lady? Is there an official place where we can keep a track of these kinds of cases? That is the question.
Okay.
There is a lawyer who works within the northern part of the central region and western north, and he has been doing a lot of social justice work there. He says, sir, the apathy of police in the rural areas, especially northern parts of central region and the western north region, is the cause of most of these. The officers in these parts don't show much interest in protecting lives, but see every case as a money-making opportunity. A senior police killed my cousin through reckless driving on Saturday in Sefirioso. As we speak, we were told he has been arrested since, but has not appeared before any court nor on records of being granted police bail. The regional police command prevented drug tests to be done as at now. Per my experience, do your investigations into the charges the police preferred against the said husband that warranted a 3-month jail term. You'll be shocked at them that they were very different from the fact on the grounds.
And there's this other one that came in from the central region. It says a child came with non-accidental injuries, obviously inflicted by her mom and boyfriend. She was malnourished. We did everything we could and she got better. We didn't have a home to place her in. So she was discharged and she went home to her mother. She came back a month later, bleeding in her brain. Again, it was non-accidental. She later died. This is from a doctor.
Bernard, we should be removing the police from prosecution. They are too corrupt. Perhaps refer all prosecutions back to AG. All prosecutions are in the name of the AG anyway. Due to the enormity of the work, the police was introduced to prosecute certain offences, but truly, they have not been doing well. This from a lawyer. Well, it's really, really sad, but sometimes we need to be sad, you know. We are not here to make you happy. We are here to make you better. So we all do our best. Hopefully some leads, there were a couple of leads were given. Where are we forwarding this to? Is this the social welfare
Caleb will
department?
follow it up.
Or
We'll
to
go
send it to the...
We'll send it to the gender minister.
Yeah, I think we should.
We like giving her work.
And you know, the thing you were talking about, the state leading, I just want to make a quick point. You see, I was almost always on the bit on these matters of domestic violence and how the coalition those days was leading the charge with Nana Oyelita, Dr. Angela, and the rest of the people to get the domestic violence and victims, the act passed.
Yeah.
This was passed in 2007. And I remember the debate in Parliament and what they were supposed to do. Bernard, if you look at section 29 and 31 of the Act, let me read it. Establishment of fund. There is established by this Act a victims of domestic violence support fund. 31 says objectives of the fund. The monies of the fund shall be applied A, towards the basic material support of victims of domestic violence, B, for the training or families of victims of domestic violence. C, for any other matter connected with the rescue, rehabilitation, and reintegration of victims of domestic violence. D, this is the instructive one, towards the construction of reception shelters for victims of domestic violence in regions and districts. And E, for the training and capacity building of persons connected with the provision of shelter, rehabilitation, and reintegration.
Passed the law, went to sleep.
2007.
Passed the law, went to sleep.
18 years ago.
Same thing.
2007. I remember the efforts of Nana Oye, Dr. Angela Jamina, many of them.
So
and
that
FIDA
thing
and
is there.
it is there in the act.
Oh God. Just say we don't want to pass the law, then go and sleep.
Go and sleep.
We collect the donor money that is connected to the passage of the law, and that is it. 18 years. Have we not failed as a state?
So there's actually a law that says
It
we should
is
build
there.
this thing. Oh, I'm ashamed.
Over to you.
We'll take a break. This is it's very sad.
Look what disgrace.